Report. I'm Tony DeCopel in New York. We are coming on your air because we are about to get an update on something many people are paying attention to: the investigation into the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that highly influential conservative activist who was gunned down yesterday while he was at an event, holding an event at Utah Valley University. Thousands in attendance. Now, as far as we know, the person who shot him is still at large, but we are hoping to learn more right now. It is about 7:14 a.m. in Utah, very early for a press conference. This could be substantial, so let's listen in.
Participating in a student-sponsored event with Turning Point USA. Charlie was shot at that event. He was transported to a local hospital where he later passed. Last night, his body was moved to the state office of the medical examiner. We will continue to facilitate movements to get him home today and with his family. Yesterday, during the investigative process, we located a couple of persons of interest. We interviewed those individuals, and after releasing them and after clearing them of being suspects, they faced scrutiny. They faced threats. We asked the public to be patient with the investigative process. These individuals were not suspects. They were people of interest. We ask that you do not impose into those people and that investigative process. They don't deserve that harassment for being subject to that. I'd like to thank all the investigators that are involved in this. They have worked around the clock. All day yesterday, through the night last night, investigators from the State Bureau of Investigations, from county, from city agencies, the university, our federal partners with the FBI, the ATF, and many others. Those are just a few of the people that we have involved in this. I'd like to thank all of them for their strong work. Through all that work last night, we were able to make a few breakthroughs. We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., the subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood. Our investigators have worked through those neighborhoods, contacting anybody they can with doorbell cameras, witnesses, and have thoroughly worked through those communities, trying to identify any leads. We do have good video footage of this individual. We are not going to release that at this time. We are working through some technologies and some ways to identify this individual. If we are unsuccessful, we will reach out to you as the media and we will push that publicly to help us identify them. But we are confident in our abilities right now, and we would like to move forward in a manner that keeps everyone safe and moves this process appropriately. Last night I communicated with Erica. The family's devastated. As a commissioner of public safety, as a father, as a husband, I can only imagine what that family's going through. The heinous event that happened yesterday is not Utah. This is not what we're known for. Over the past several weeks, we've seen this state come together to help families in mourning, come together as a community to show what Utah is known for a state of character, of service, of camaraderie, of a neighboring feel. We will not stand for what happened yesterday. We are exhausting every lead. We have every officer invested in this, every investigator, every local agency. The outpouring of support from the law enforcement community has been astounding. We are investing everything we have into this, and we will catch this individual. Having walked through the crime scene, through the hallways of this school, through the classrooms, I can't imagine what the people on scene felt as well. A horrific event where some of them barricaded in classrooms, some of them ran in fear. Can't overstate the tragedy and the horrific event that yesterday was, and how we will work to bring to justice the actions of one individual or any other individuals that assisted in that. Our state has gone through a lot, and we will come out successful. With that, I'll turn the time over to Special Agent Bowles in charge.
Good morning. My name is Robert Bowles, and I am the Special Agent in charge of the Salt Lake Field Office. Following yesterday's tragic shooting of Charlie Kirk, FBI agents have been working around the clock in coordination with our law enforcement partners. We are and will continue to work nonstop until we find the person that has committed this heinous crime and find out why they did it. This morning I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. So the FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis. Now, I understand there are a lot of questions about motive. I assure you that all leads, tips are being fully investigated. As of this morning, we have received more than 130 tips. We thank the community for that. The FBI has brought every resource to bear, and we will continue to do so throughout the course of this investigation. The FBI's mission is to protect the American people. It's to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Any attack on the First Amendment is an attack on the very foundation of our democracy. That is why we will relentlessly pursue this case and the shooter until we find him. We also continue to grieve with the family and the community. It's our community. If you have any video or images from the shooting, we ask you to please submit them to our digital media tip website at www.fbi.gov/Utah Valley Shooting. You can also call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. We truly rely on the public's help in these types of cases, and no tip is too small or insignificant. Thank you.
Absolutely. So what I'll release about the suspect is suspect blended in well with a college institution. We're not releasing many details right now, and we will soon. But right now we're not. But that individual appears to be of college age. We are confident in our abilities to track that individual. If we're unsuccessful in identifying them immediately, we will reach out for the public's help and the media's help in pushing those photos. That was a new development overnight, working through the night, studying those cameras. So that's something that's new and that we're working through right now. As far as the security, I cannot speak to that. Neither the Department of Public Safety nor the Federal Bureau of Investigation was involved in the planning or security of this event, and that'll have to be a question later for other agencies.
Suspect could be hiding in the woods, and is that suspect possibly still in this area?
So that's a good question, and it's a question that goes to the safety of the community, right? No, not in those woods. We've walked through those woods and secured it. As to the community, I can tell you that this was a targeted event. We don't believe that the community is at risk. However, we are exhausting every resource to find him. And we will do so. So I can't comment specifically on his face or any details such as that, as it's continuing to be a part of the investigation, and again, we'll release that shortly. However, we're doing everything we can to find him, and we're not sure how far he has gone yet, but we will do our best. We have images of the suspect. Again, as part of the investigation, we're not releasing any details such as that right now. We are exhausting all of our resources to be able to collect those, but that's, again, part of the investigation. Excuse me? We are working on that, but again, part of the investigation that I can't release. Not at all. We've got complete and total support from everyone, from the director on down, and it's been an incredible supportive environment so far. All I can say is that we're working the investigation the best we have with the environment we're given. So thank you.
You have been watching a press conference out of Utah this morning, one day now after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We thought it would be a substantive press conference, and indeed it was. The commissioner of the Department of Public Safety there in Utah and the special agent in charge of the Salt Lake City FBI Bureau talked about the suspect, and we learned quite a bit. We learned they believe it is a college-aged individual who, as they put it, blended in well with those at the event. We also learned that they've recovered what they believe to be the weapon, described as a high-powered bolt-action rifle. They have palm prints and they have footwear impressions that they believe, along with good quality video, will be enough to track this individual at this time. They are not releasing a name or footage for the public to comb through as of yet. Right now, they feel they have it down. Carter Evans is down on the scene and asked some questions there at the press conference. Carter, what stood out to you?
Well, you know, they seem pretty confident that they have an idea of this individual that they're looking for. And as the special agent in charge was walking away here, I mentioned that he said the word he many times, and he did confirm that the subject that they are looking for is a male. As you mentioned, they found that rifle in the woods. I asked if they thought he might still be in the area. They said they searched that wooded area and they were able to clear it. The one thing that they did point out is that they were able to track his movements from very early on, from the time he entered campus to the time he entered the building, went up the stairs, got on the roof. The shooting occurred, and then they see him jumping down from the building to another building, and then escaping off into a neighborhood. They went into that neighborhood also to gather more video from Ring cameras and such. They are not sharing that video with us, as you mentioned, and they will not get into details exactly what that video shows. Did they get a good look at this individual's face? That is unclear. That's a question they would not answer. I did ask them if they were able to get any fingerprints or DNA off the gun, perhaps, and that is something that they are working on right now. He said they spoke with the family, and they are absolutely devastated, as you can imagine. And he also mentioned how scary this was for students, and I noticed that when we were walking into the hall here today. There are chairs still scattered all over, backpacks on the ground. He said many people have barricaded themselves in the classrooms, terrified for their lives.
Understandably so. Carter, thank you very much for your coverage there. Let's bring in our justice correspondent, Scott McFarland, who's also been following this. Scott, it was notable to me that they said they have good quality footage of this individual, and they're bringing technologies to bear in order to try to identify who it was. What stood out to you from that press conference?
Tony, I've been messaging some law enforcement sources about that detail. They have good video, but they don't want to share it. What does that mean? A couple different takeaways here. That is an indication of confidence. Carter says those law enforcement leaders seem confident. They sure do. If they don't want the public's help to look at imagery to help identify somebody, they may think they're close. But also, in this new era of citizen sleuths putting out images of people and having people misidentified by the public, that can go far. That can metastasize and cause trouble for people misidentified. And you heard them at the beginning of that news conference say There's been threats against or hassling of the people who were detained briefly yesterday and released for having no connection to the shooting. They don't want that to happen, too. A couple other notes that I underscored here. The arrival time of this shooter, 11:52 a.m. local time in Utah. That's 8 minutes before the event began yesterday. This is not a situation where somebody was there with plenty of time to set up an elaborate setup and do elaborate planning on site. It's a pretty quick turnaround. And they say no danger to the public. Tony, an indication this is very much a targeted political assassination.
Certainly seems that way. Scott, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We are going to start with breaking news and the investigation into the killing of conservative activist and Turning Point USA co-founder Charlie Kirk. FBI officials just released these never-before-seen images of the person of interest in the case. And these pictures were posted on social media. They're now asking for the public's help to identify the person they believe is connected. And this comes after a press conference where officials expressed confidence in surveillance footage uncovered from the event. Kirk, a close Trump ally, was shot yesterday at Utah Valley University. It happened during one of his Prove Me Wrong debates. That is an event where he invites students at college campuses across the country to challenge his political and cultural views. Kirk was just 31 years old. The details we know so far, here they are. Video showed Kirk speaking to nearly 3,000 people at the central courtyard that's pictured here. A single shot fired shortly after 12 p.m. local time. Now, according to the university, that shot is believed to have been fired from that building on the right side of this graphic on your screen. Now, we've got team coverage on all of this. In moments, we'll go to Utah and CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez. But first, we want to get to CBS News senior coordinating producer for the Crime and Public Safety Unit, Anna Schechter. Anna, thank you once again for joining us today and leading us through all of the information we're getting. With this latest development, what can you tell us about where authorities are at this point in their investigation?
Sure, Mugo. They have gone through hours and hours of surveillance footage and have pinpointed several good quality images of the man that they believe is the shooter. They have put out these photos and asked the public for help in both identifying this individual and locating the person. Now, earlier today, we learned from federal sources that the shooter fled on foot and discarded the weapon, the rifle, that was used in the assassination in nearby woods. It was wrapped in a towel, and they gave details about the gun, the type of gun, which very high-powered, had the ability to shoot that accurate shot from 200 meters away. So that's where they are. They have not given us any indication about how far this individual might have fled. So this appears to remain a very wide perimeter, if you will, for investigators. We don't know if the individual was able to get access to a vehicle to flee. Although if they haven't found him at this point, if he was on foot, he might have been able to gain access to a vehicle and get out of town. We have not received any images of a vehicle. If it was a car with a license plate readers are a very effective tool that police use to find people. We haven't had any information about that, but that's where we stand right now at this hour.
You know what, Anna, you mentioned the weapon that police say they found. Is there any way they can connect that to the shooter just based on who may have purchased that weapon?
Well, they found this particular rifle difficult to trace. We have not had any information come out. Usually it takes the ATF about a day to process a weapon like this, but we have not gotten any information about when this was purchased, if there was a legal transfer that could help us identify a suspect. So at this time, it appears that the gun has not given us a clue to the identity of the suspect. However, it has been transferred to a crime lab looking for fingerprints. If those fingerprints are found, that will be very helpful to investigators. All of that is underway. I should also add that investigators found a forearm print and a palm print. The palm print might be more helpful if it's a fingerprint, of course. It's potentially the most helpful if this individual had been booked before, but if they'd never been booked before, a fingerprint actually doesn't give us much. We had a lot of these same conversations, you and me, about Luigi Mangione's manhunt last December.
And so, Anna, if you are on this investigation team, what exactly are you looking for that you hope will lead you to the suspect?
Well, right now, I'd be pulling in every surveillance video, if I didn't have it already, nearby businesses, speed cameras on roads, highways, casing the wooded area, having multiple investigative agents, possibly search dogs, and heat sensor drones actually looking for an individual in the wooded area where the weapon was found. But again, as I said earlier, leaning into the technology and leaning into surveillance footage, that painstaking work, throw a lot of resources at it, a lot of people reviewing every frame of footage in the aftermath of the shooting.
Yeah. Anna Schechter, as always, thank you so much for your insight. Appreciate it. So let's go live now to Utah and CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez. Andres, thank you again for joining us. I know things out there are developing very quickly. Are you feeling anything on the ground when it comes to authorities and in terms of just how close they are right now to finding the shooter?
Well, let's give you a sense of the lay of the land as we speak. We're now nearing almost 24 hours since this tragedy unfolded and sheer pandemonium broke out on this campus. The shooting itself happened just beyond that building, the Fugel Gateway Center, that has been now the nerve center of this particular investigation. You can see that mobile command post, that's beyond that white truck there in the shot there, the one that has the mast. That is the mobile command unit where essentially the basis of operations are for the FBI and the plethora of other agencies helping them in trying to find the suspect. It showed up here last night around 8 o'clock, and then the building itself has been operational throughout the night. I showed up here around 4 this morning to begin reporting on this story, and you could actually access the inside of the building. And inside, they have one room where it's literally labeled witness room, and you have a group of investigators, delving into what they have gathered thus far. They have since obviously roped it off. They did so here within the last hour. At around 7 a.m., you had the first wave of crime scene techs with the FBI's evidence response team that showed up here. Most of them, again, have been working throughout the night, but some of them obviously needed to rest up, and they are now freshly rested and well rested, and now on the ground. Besides, working out of this operation, they've also have been canvassing that neighborhood where the suspect fled to. It's nearby. They've canvassed that area, looking for homeowners to hand over any home surveillance footage that may have good images of this individual. Again, they initially during the news conference, they said that they were not going to release any images of the suspect unless they needed the public's help. And well, now they do. Now that photo has been circulating out there at 9 a.m. So 2 hours after the first wave of new officers showed up here, they had a briefing. You saw just a slew of law enforcement of all kinds walking into the auditorium of this facility. And then after that, they decided to rope it off and push the media back. And the campus itself is closed here until Monday to give investigators some room to work with. But things are kind of beginning to get back to normal out here. Obviously, yesterday we could even get to where this roundabout is. Traffic now just going on by. But again, they have pushed back the perimeter as more of these law enforcement vehicles have shown up here since, again, the mobile command post since 8 o'clock last night, but those two others showing up this morning.
Yeah, and Andres, you just mentioned campus is closed, so students are not out there right now. But you also talked about police officers going door to door, trying to see if maybe residents have those Ring cameras, anything that can lead them to the shooter. So I have to ask, have you had a chance to talk to people who live near that area, knowing that the shooter is possibly still out there, maybe even hiding out there?
Yeah, the other thing here to point out, Muga, is that this campus is right next to Interstate 15. It's a huge thoroughfare. It could go up to Salt Lake City and all the way south down to Las Vegas. And so the hope is that they can catch this guy before he has crossed state lines. Yeah. And so that's the prerogative right now for the objective for these law enforcement officers to do so. They have canvassed that neighborhood, but again, people you could surmise are trying to keep their head on a swivel this morning as they're going on about their daily life, just to make sure that, if they see anything suspicious, to pick up the phone and call law enforcement.
All right, CBS News reporter Andres Gutierrez, thank you so much for your reporting. I appreciate it.